I want to take you to a very special place, one that was once manned by some very special men, many of whom has never left. And today it is manned by yet another group of dedicated, honorable men protecting this place and its legacy. This is not just another fort, it is a war grave and a tragic turning point of military history. World War I was as certain to happen after the peace was signed after the Franco-Prussian War in 1871 as World War II was certain to happen after the Treaty of Versailles had been signed, with much the same result. Everybody began to build forts and bunkers. The Germans and Prussians built great forts like Magnifique and Wagner, and many others. The Belgians had Henri Brialmont construct forts as well, and the Brialmont fort design was copied in many other countries, as he consulted with them. And certainly for a conflict as the Franco-Prussian War, these forts would have held up quite well. However, the war that was coming would be very different, with a different technology. As it has always been, the lessons of a war are incorporated in military and government thinking. However, many failed to prepare for the next war. The fort of Loncin was one of the great forts, led by a great and popular commander. It was a fighting artillery fort, one that never surrendered. Yet the fort did fall, and it was a key turning point in the evolution of fortress construction from that point on. It was so sudden and abrupt that the French took away the entirely wrong lessons and began emptying their forts, expecting them to now be obsolete, as we saw in Verdun. With the start of the Great War in the summer of 1914, Germany faced enemies on two fronts, the Russians and the French. The Russians would be slower to mobilize, so Germany decided to strike the French in order to knock them out of the war, then turning around against the Russians. This was the Schlieffen Plan. And seeking to avoid French strong defenses along the French-German border, they decided to enter through Belgium, swinging through the small country into France. But here the Germans would face the Belgian fortifications, especially the 12 forts around Liège, but also around Namur and Antwerp, all designed by Brialmont. They were constructed entirely out of concrete, unreinforced concrete, built to withstand 200mm shells. Loncin was, as many others, a triangular fort with a central massif where most of the armament was centralized, connected by underground galleries and hallways between the magazines and the fighting positions, constructed by concrete and covered by several meters of dirt. Positions for defending the ditches and entry positions within the central fort, and a massive counterscarp position covering two of the ditches with 5.7mm guns and automatic rifles. On the other side of that ditch, there are the bakeries, kitchens, toilets, officers' rooms, and many offices. This is also where the pull bridge would be operated and defended from. The fort was designed to be operated along with troops positioned between the forts. The guns in the forts were supposed to support these infantrymen and suppress enemy artillery. However, gaps between the forts were not covered by these forts' artillery, so when forward observation posts were captured, targeting the fort's artillery became difficult, and the Germans would suffer heavy losses attacking these and lose valuable time in reducing them. Fort de Loncin is located about 7 kilometers west of Liège, and in 1914, when the Germans crossed the Belgian border on August 4th, the commander of Liège, General Lehmann, moved to Fort Loncin. The Germans needed to capture all the forts to secure their advance, so they brought up their heavy artillery of 42-centimeter guns, with rounds weighing as much as 1,000 kilos. You may now begin to imagine what happened next. However, maybe not the scale. After days of heavy shelling from all calibers, the fort was battered, but it held up, right until the point where one 420mm shell hit the black powder magazine that contained 12 tons of black powder. Now, Brialmont had hoped that enemy artillery projectiles would bounce off the concrete. However, because the cement had been poured in layers, the concrete tended to flake off. The concrete in some places was not covered with earth, something which could have provided additional protection. And although tests had been done that showed the fort's concrete was vulnerable to artillery even of smaller sizes of 150 millimeters, no improvements were made. These tests were also done by the French, who had, by the eve of war, begun to reinforce some of the forts somewhat. Some of the Brialmont forts had another serious flaw regarding the bathrooms. In these forts, the bathroom facilities were located separate from where the men were in the central massif, forcing them to go outside under enemy fire to reach the sanitary facilities. Instead, many of the men obviously relieved themselves wherever they were inside the fort, which then created serious sanitary and health problems, plus the smell of their own waste with smoke from the firing artillery contributed to several of the surrenders of some of the Brialmont fort designs. And France took the wrong lesson from the Brialmont fort defeats. Instead of understanding that these forts needed to be reinforced and upgraded technologically, the French concluded that the permanent fortifications were obsolete. Thus they stripped their forts, such as at Verdun, from weapons and men, and this was an error they would pay dearly for. Interesting. And you have the side lateral drawbridge, very similar to what we see in other contemporary forts in other countries, where you do have drawbridge equal to the side, and then you have a 4-meter drop. One single 420 millimeter shell struck the massif, penetrated into the powder magazine, and set off 12 tons of black powder in the center of the fort. The explosion traveled down through all the connecting tunnels, literally blew off all the firing domes, the guns out of their mountings, into the air, spun them around like pancakes, destroyed everything inside the fort, cracked the walls. Even the projectors' domes also lifted and fell into the crater that just seconds before had been a solid concrete fort. 350 men died instantly, and the remaining wounded were incapable of fighting. Well, not entirely all of them, but we will get to them later. The fort thus never surrendered, as almost all of the crew were now dead, and many of them are still buried here in their fighting positions where they fell on that day. Today, there is an absolutely amazing bunch of volunteers who are caring for these remains and slowly restoring the parts of the fort that is still remain somewhat intact and can be restored. The explosion was heard 12 kilometers away, after the Germans invited soldiers from surrounding forts to the site to show them what had happened, trying to motivate them to surrender. Now, lessons are always learned in the time of warfare, and if you can say that there was a pivotal point for a lot of militaries where lessons were learned, it was here, where you saw the destructive result of heavy artillery and no reinforcement. This was a turning point, and like all other military lessons learned, it cost the lives of a lot of men. This was the light dome that would raise up, that took a dive and even dented This heavy steel dome is even dented. Now this used to be the inside. When you see the well of one of these big cannons, these big gun turrets, when you see the well, and just imagine what it would take to completely destroy the well, toss the metal up in the air, and crash it back down like this. 12 tons of black powder will do that to you. Which was then, if there had been any doubt, the other lesson learned here. That the time of black powder was over.
Of the fort.
I know this was the citadel, this was the center of the fort, wasn't it?
You don't have any access to that anymore.
And a lot of the people that died here, they're still here.
Yeah.
Tight holes that have been exploded.
The first meter. And after, no, yes.
I appreciate
Okay.
your concern because you haven't
Okay.
seen where I have been lately. Aha.
And you can see also the result of the explosion here. Three floor. And here it's
The fine movement
it's six
was assumed at the first stage.
six men for the
6 men?
yes,
Yes,
Just-
three on each side.
So I guess it doesn't turn anymore.
And you have the crankshaft, and with the crankshaft they were making the turret turning,
Yeah.
and they had a roof, an indication of the turret.
Where it was, the direction.
Yes, of the turret direction.
Yeah. Yeah, because down here they would have no idea where it was.
Je vais devoir t'abandonner. Bon.
Non, tu fais ça très bien. Mieux que moi.
So 3 on each side.
Yes, but also 3 and 2 here,
Oh, so this one, yeah, that's okay.
and also here 2.
And that's the break.
2 men to the ascenseur. comment on dit?
The problem with the explosion, the turret moved on one side, and you got this the disconnection of the main shaft of the bearing. It shows you what happened with the explosion.
The whole dome, the whole room moved sideways
Yes,
by a foot.
but also the turrets, because the turrets has 2 stages. You will see,
Yeah.
that's quite amazing.
Oh, I've seen a few 210, but yeah, it'll be a problem to put this back. It'll take a little work. Oh, so this is a 210 turret, so this weighs, what, 130 tons?
Combien de tonnes?
L'ensemble,
Ouais.
200 tons.
200 tons. But when was the dome built? 1880s?
This
Or
for
90.
us to go
1880, yeah.
and the gun I built in 1890.
1890. Ah, you can see how you have a hole in your roof.
You can see here, right?
Yeah. It's really... Did they survive in here or no? The people that were in here, did they survive?
All the people are dead.
Everybody?
Yes.
Everybody
25.
Everybody were killed here.
Yeah. It would be almost impossible to think that anybody would survive the shock wave.
Mais tu peux aller, tu veux pas partir plus longtemps. Tu fais ça mieux que moi.
Je vais monter avec vous jusqu'en haut et puis...
That's why backpack's always in the way. Alright, this looks familiar.
It's the third floor for the chief of the cupola.
Oh yes, I see how much this changed.
Here.
And the needle is missing.
Here.
This is so you have someone polish the brass. Yeah, you can really see how much the dome shifted.
360 degrees. It's for to go the gun up, down.
The okay, the elevation of the gun.
You can see behind. You can see the gun with.
Oh yes.
Yes. It is with.
In fact, before the explosion of the fort, they tried to replace this gun. This gun was damaged
By Michel.
at the outlet. It was damaged by shrapnels, and that's why they decided to take it out and to put a new one.
A new one.
But they hadn't any time to finish this job.
You were trying to change the barrel. The gun barrel.
You will see
Yeah.
at the second stage. The right gun is still there. This is the left one.
I can't wait.
You can go up.
Please go
Oh, I have every intention of.
go up.
Here. Come here.
This is a very strange sensation because the floor is a little crooked. You get the feeling you're on a ship that's a little off, but it's not moving. Okay. So you had two of them.
That's because the gun is to go down.
They decided to change it because it was damaged.
Oh yes.
And if you know,
Yeah.
on a gun, as well for big gun as for small arms, if you have any damage on the muzzle, it destroys all the accuracy of the
And that's the best thing.
weapon.
And that's the best thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen is a lot worse.
That's why they decided to change it.
Yeah.
But no time to finish the job, unfortunately.
That's that's a bit this was shrapnel. That's
Crazy.
it's really interesting that they happen right in between. This was an active battle. This is the change for the barrel.
And there, on the wheel, you have the fine rotation and just...
It's a real part of the floor because
Yeah.
all the floor are moving. Here the second chief with 2-3 soldiers.
Was that a periscope?
Yes, for the chief of the cupola. It's possible to go outside to see around the floor.
Well, this was howitzers.
And counter weight.
Yeah. This was still black powder,
Black powder.
so you needed extra ventilation.
Yes,
So it's part of the original stairs.
the big armament here was quite old.
Yeah, and it's very toxic from from 1819. Yeah, from
Yes, but
1890.
at this time, the German army was already using peroxide powder and not black powder. The catastrophic issue on this fort was due to black powder.
That's what it was. Of course it was, because black powder is far more volatile than shells in cases.
Black powder is present. That's a very dangerous. That's a very dangerous propellant.
And here's the outer casing. And here you could. So if a shell came in, oh, this is awesome. You really see the difference between.
That's the toilet and the bathroom.
Between the shroud and the gun dome. So if anything got stuck in here, you'd have to send in a little kid to clean it out. This is the biggest gap I've seen between a gun shroud. This is not like the 1905 turret, is it? It's just like a bigger version.
These parts are the interface with outside.
Yeah.
That's a big curved steel plate. In French, we name that voussoir. Pardon?
Ben, t'as bien fait de rester parce que t'es bon. Tu vois? Et au moins tu seras dans une National Geographic. Ok.
This really is something. It's like right in the middle of the battle, changing the barrels. When the explosion hit on the black powder. And this is the tip of it. Oh, and you have the ammunition elevator. So, oh, you had a ammunition elevator there. You had two, right? And there's another ammunition elevator over there. Yes, yes. Wow.
J'enlève les couteaux en dégagement rapide ou quoi?
Non, tu peux essayer.
Ouais,
C'est pour couper l'arc. On peut les enlever.
je verrai bien. Si on va les enlever, on va les enlever parce que les ressorts.
The ventilation.
Yes, ventilation.
Yeah. So we have the last remaining steam engine that's left alive, and we have the fort with the first electrical ventilation. I love this place.
We did the job within 2 years. You have the starting condition,
Yeah.
and you can imagine all the parts that were rebuilt.
Yes. And
That's quite amazing.
did you have any plans?
I don't understand.
Papers, a plant?
No.
We hadn't any plan, but fortunately, I discovered a training manual dating from 1910 and describing roughly all the equipment in the fort. So we took the drawing of the steam engine. We did some enlargement, and we applied some margin coefficient in order to adapt the size, and the result is there. This steam engine was built in the year 1899. 1890, and the manufacturing number is 11 of 21.
And it's the only one left.
There's only one left, yeah.
And this will power the generator for all the electricity in the fort.
Yeah,
So you're looking at a fort with electricity from...
but electricity was especially dedicated to the searchlight. The first purpose of this machine room was to make running the searchlight. This searchlight was very original because it was hydraulic driven to go up off the ground quickly and to come back in the ground quickly also. So this machine was making electricity to supply the search lamp, and also to make the water in pressure in order to make the searchlight coming up and coming down.
Of the cave,
In the room.
hydraulic system.
Yes, the hydraulic
yes.
system.
Oh yes.
Making the searchlight.
So that's where the searchlight was?
Yes.
I mean, once.
Is one high pressure pump, and this high pressure pump was dedicated to put the hydraulic accumulator under pressure.
And it is so quiet. So does it generate electricity still?
The condition of the dynamo was this. The final product is there. Imagine.
That's absolutely amazing. I love this. You can hear there's nothing in the way. It is just so smooth.
That's wonderful.
It is.
The steam engine is quite a modern one. You have control of the distribution, of course, but you have also a control of the expansion of the steam. That's why you have two connecting rods on the distribution. But to come 1 week later, because today we were busy to fix the frame of the electric board. That's a big marmor electric board.
The plate. Yes. Well, you're going to have to send me a photo of it.
You have to come next week.
That's where the control panel would be. That's the oiler. And that's another oiler that's moving. Oh, I love that.
And at the same time, the lubricated location are under pressure. If you open this, you can put oil inside the bowl.
Okay.
You close it, you open, you are under pressure, but by gravity, oil is
Going into the machinery.
is going down and assuming lubrication of the system.
The speed regulator.
Yeah.
So that'll keep that from
With
going.
the speed, you have balls are going outside. They are coming out of the holes, and all the system is going up and pulling this lever and closing steam.
So how many horsepower?
20.
20.
The first time 20.
They try to
14
increase
is,
the
40. 40 horsepower.
And it was made locally.
Very sad, yeah.
That really is. But I have found. And that's the other one of the other tunnels.
Yeah.
And that is the metal roof of one of the tunnels.
Yes, for your information, you have the half moon cut.
Yeah. Oh,
It was
That's
the
what it was.
The chimney of the steam engine.
Is it the bottom of this room here? There.
yeah.
The boiler was just under the machine. Activating of the fire was made by the escaping steam of the engine going down to the boiler, going in the smoke box and making some depression in order to accelerate the air intake in the boiler.
It's like the steam machine, train steam
As
machine.
Yeah.
It's
exactly as on a steam machine, on a big boil machine.
Is the boiler still here?
Yeah,
like-
But it's still here.
it's on the first stage.
Outstanding.
Your left is the steam boiler.
Okay.
On your left. But
What you see there are the three cylinders of the hydraulic accumulator. The hydraulic accumulator, the purpose was to inflate all the cylinder with pressurized water in order to make big weight in steel going up and saving a lot of energy. So when they intend to make the electric light coming out of the ground, they open a valve and the water pressure with the big steel weight was making
So they use steam pressure
yeah
to raise the light.
not steam pressure, water
pressure.
water pressure.
No, so, okay, so not even steam. But
No, only the engine was functioning with steam, and the pressurized water was made with the two-stage pump you see there.
And I really, really love the guys and their enthusiasm and all the time and effort they spent putting this thing together. And it's just a pleasure to see it run after so many years. Just the crack, how the whole room just... It's surprised the room didn't collapse. And this is was for air.
Yeah.
yes, but with electric. Wat is dat?
Advantage.
So, when this barrel was damaged, by a shell that landed out here somewhere. Somewhere. Look at this. Oh, here's a shell that hit. Oh, look at that. Here you have a very good impact. You really have an impact of something that's grazed it and exploded on the side. What damaged the barrel? Do you know where that hit was?
No, just
If he was looking out when this shrapnel hit, that would have been a bad day. But at least it's still where it's supposed to be. Really? So it landed here with the explosion? So it flew from there to here? That's...
the cement, the sand, the stone.
This is pretty much, this is all that is.
No.
It is cement and big stones. Yeah, no steel. This is...
no money.
So this was a 21. And that's that's what left of it. Wow. And this was come up from the explosion there.
With the explosion, yeah.
So this wasn't even hit. This was just pressure.
Yeah, you are 22 tons. Just with the explosions, normal you are 4. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3 and 4 here.
And there's one there
This here.
and one there. And then this is the top.
The protections for the gun.
Yeah. This is amazing, the destruction. I guess here you can clearly see how the dome was connected to the foundation and to the cannon, upside down.
And the general is here and never surrender.
So was the general here with the explosion?
Yes?
So he's also dead.
No.
He lived.
Life and 8 days in the hospital and after direct in Germany, but in the 16 it's going to the Swiss after in the France, after in the Belgium.
So he escaped.
He's dead in 20.
How many survived the explosion?
14. The other soldier is dead or fallen soldier.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the pressure would travel all the way through the hallways and up here and blow this up as well. No wonder no one survived. This is just the main explosion took place all the way over there, traveled through here, and just threw everything up, destroyed it. You see how the halves the gun is missing. This was the gun mount. One of the really interesting parts about this fort is, after the battle, the Germans decided to keep it, not destroy it, take anything away from it, and leave it as a war grave to memory of those Belgians who fought here. So it has not been destroyed or pilfered, other than by scrap metals, local scrap metalers that have stolen some of the metal over time. Is this tar? Is this weatherproof? This is weatherproofing. The tar for the rain.
It's a great problem, yes. A great problem. After I'll show you here, just here, modification for the German.
This is the ring. Is this the ring where the dial would be?
Is
The number, yeah, the number.
the gun is the soldier in the cupola.
Yeah.
I not see nothing.
That's the that's the ring. This says 1346. Is that production number? Is that the production number? So this is production, yeah, number, yeah. See a metal hatch in cement.
It's not the Belgium, it's the German.
That's German.
German.
The Germans built here?
After the explosion, the German come here. And 257 is here, one here. For the reason, when I see the enemy come, and here you are the guard here.
Oh,
it's just for the protection to the guard.
Oh no, it's a little bunker there. Okay, I see it. With observation port.
One man is here, and see if you like, if you are the man come as well.
That's interesting. Oh yeah, because you would have a very nice field of... At Mutzig, we saw some of the instant steel covers the Germans would put over the forward observation posts or drag to the front lines. I've never seen a dome like this, where I'm guessing the hole in the center would be for a periscope of some sorts. But this is interesting, and the first time I've seen one of those for World War I. Literally flipped up in the air and came back down. And this was
40 tons.
40 tons.
With the pressure, the fort explodes.
So that's the gun mount, and the gun is still there. This was a 15? A single 15. And not so long ago, they had to remove some of the munitions and still more of the bodies.
Here you are the 143 ton of the bomb.
Oh.
And the army come and 3 man half. The bomb is direct in the La Pampa. Is the name for explosion the bomb.
But they removed them from here.
And in going with the bomb, I see the men, 26 men. And 4 men is the name, and 22 men is the grip. 4 men is 1 man with the ring, 1 man with the gun is the estafette factor. It's just with the bicycle.
Yeah.
And 2 men with the medal. Yeah. And this man is decrypted now.
So you're still finding bodies and you're still finding bombs?
No, it's just the bones.
No, it's just bombs.
Just the bones.
21 short howitzer? Howitzer.
And here you are 4 here, and 4 men is
Oh, so that's returning it.
for ton the bomb the cannon.
So you literally like a little horse carousel.
1 bomb is 90 kilo.
So the Germans came to the hospital to congratulate the lieutenant
Yes,
of the
yes.
fort for his good work or for having survived.
The lieutenant is congratulations for your work. You kill 1 colonel in great hope with this
Precision.
colonel. Is dead. And going with the commandant, the commandant is the commandant Larsens. And it's a great privilege for me to have the hand to the great official. No, the German is very great respect for the soldier here.
See, that's the stories you never hear. That's the story. I mean, but that's a big deal. An interesting note was that during World War II, when the Germans were busy scrapping old medals from conquered and destroyed forts for their Atlantic Wall construction projects, when they came here to Loncin, they were met by the then widow of the commander from the time, who explained to the German commander what had happened here and what was here now. And indeed, they then left it intact as a memorial with all the fixtures in place. Merci. So the Germans occupied the fort,
Yes.
but they didn't change anything.
Just for the
For this back,
defense
yeah.
of the enemy.
Again, there's a lot of trees in the way now. All the trees wouldn't have been here. Yeah, there was like running trenches behind here in the parapet, and they've been covered up by time. And I have to say, the volunteers who are caring for this place today are some of the most dedicated and respectful volunteers that are now running this place in the best tradition of the army you could possibly wish for. And I hope you will understand, unlike what you would usually see me do, due to the nature of this place, I'm not going to go crawling through any of the tunnels or holes in the ground here. That would just be wrong. Yeah, I can see. I mean, somebody did blow up your fort. I guess you can't blame it for leaking a little bit. What is this? 125 years old and have been blown up? I mean, even here on the other side, you see how Wow. So this is the other side of the explosion on this hallway. See how the cables pulled down, how the roof came down. This is the other side of that large detonation. I mean, everything, even on the other side here, everything cracked.
When the German going here, the 4 bodies to the Mr. Albrechts and 3 men here is dead with the asphyxiation.
Was it gas or smoke?
The gas.
It was actual gas.
The gas.
So the Germans fired poison gas here as well.
The gas or the explosions, 50,000 bombs in 26 years.
So it was smoke.
It's incredible. And the 4 men is dead here.
Yeah.
The German come here and the director is dead.
So it was smoke, it wasn't poisonous gas,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
wasn't, okay. But still, and that is the stories I keep seeing of the Belgian defenses, both World War I and World War II. They never surrendered, they didn't give up until there was nothing left. And I think a lot of people, they think the Germans had an easy time. What a place to end your life.
The heat is 600 kilo.
In this very position, Officer Albrecht and 3 of his men were guarding the entranceway to the fort should the Germans be able to penetrate in through past the moat to the front. They knew they were running out of air. They were suffocating with the smoke, lack of oxygen, but they called the commander and they stayed in their place, knowing what a vital defensive position they were holding, and here they were found later.
In 43, the English airplane crashed here,
Oh,
after the street.
the windows. Are they from World War One? The original.
Yes, oh, yes.
Why? I mean, why? What was in there to
The real door.
the real door?
Yes.
So we had this enormous blast, and the windows survived.
The windows and the glass.
So was that commandant office or
No, it's for the bureau.
bureau? So there was office, bureau office. I'm just surprised that that the windows survived.
I had the problem with the water, right? The uniform.
More windows. I don't see a lot of windows in underground tunnels. I really haven't. It is the first fort I've seen where you have windows inside out to the back. I've never seen these rooms before. Now the building we were just in ran alongside the ditch. This is where the ditch used to be. It would run straight through, but now it is completely covered by the rubble and the dirt that was kicked up from the crater and now has filled up this entire walkway. It just boggles the mind to imagine how this entire fort literally must have lifted in the air, created an enormous crater, and then settled all the way enough to cover the entire ditch. Yay. What have we here? Short howitzer? No, this is a mortar.
Thing for the phone. Here you see indoor the fort after the explosion.
And this is the hallway on the other side of the explosion. They have deliberately left it undisturbed from that time, of course, after having removed the bodies, most of which are now either in the cemetery or in the mausoleum down here that we'll see later. There's one gun position of a 5.7mm gun that survived. It is up the staircase up here. It's the one they fire for ceremonial, or that one time a year, in remembrance of what happened. This is nice and warm.
The dome for the official.
Oh, and the officers did
the gun here.
What a nice decoration.
Not restoration, it's
Wallpaper?
it's natural.
Natural. In 1914, by the 5th of August, 34 German divisions had crossed into Little Belgium, and the Belgians were outnumbered here 9-1. But they still managed to hold the Germans at bay long enough for the French soldiers to begin to mobilize and organize their defenses in front of Paris. This time, bought heroically by the Belgian soldiers, may have changed the outcome of the war. One could never know if the Germans would have made it all the way to Paris in those weeks they were held up here.
With the body.
So the powder magazine was underneath the gun. So if the powder magazine blew up, then the gun definitely would.
The jacket and for the material.
And it's a
Here
singer.
for the shoes. And here for the steel.
You had people who could repair anything in here.
All men is soldier, but all men have the war. I have 100 pieces for each. The uniform for the canal. The fort is only in Belgium. It's a one. Just goodbye.
That was surprising.
4 days in the Jerusalem.
Ah! Oh, this is actually nice bathroom facilities. You had doors, you had...
Here, the World War I.
Yes. That's still nice, you have plumbing.
That's modern, huh?
It is. And here in the Kaserne buildings that are located opposite the Massif on the other side of the ditch, you have all the creature comforts you could need, of course, enclosed in steel shutters, and you have ventilation pipes running throughout this building as well, and also you have electricity. One of the things I was impressed with, considering the amount of shelling that this fort had taken, that these buildings on the outside of the ditch that are also not enforced in any way, really, sustained practically no internal damage.
The kitchen. Is the wood. Stove, yeah. Wood for heat. Bakery. The meat and the salt.
Yes. Now, these forts had been designed and had begun construction from 1881, especially in order to prevent German long guns to do damage to the city of Liège, as had happened during the Franco-Prussian Wars. Thus, these forts were placed 3 to 6 kilometers away from town. The first strong German assaults in 1914 were repulsed, but then the 6th broke through the line and forced a passage between the forts of Léon and Evigny, and 180,000 Germans with heavy artillery began to roll through the gap and reduce the forts one by one.
All the materials of the réalisée and the work in the forts.
Yes.
This is for the gas.
Yep,
It's
ventilation.
here. And here. Now, two soldiers, and if you not possible to kill the enemy, you are here.
Oh, this is where the firing port. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Officers.
Officer of service. In Belgium, the weekend, in the week, you are the guard in the caserne. And here is the room to the officer. The commodore, Victor Nassens.
So is this his original desk and everything?
His date is 1990 year. 90. It's a very beautiful age. The washroom.
That's important. This is the washroom.
Yeah.
There's a very large rock in here.
Don't say nothing, huh?
Why is there a large rock in the washroom?
Here. Five ton. In 9, the Mr. Gabriel say the windows is too great, and 1 meter for the security and for the warm.
Mm-hmm.
And here, the steel and the beton. And here you are in the explosions, yes, so the middle of the explosions.
Yeah.
And the bâtiment, the building here in face, coming here, cross the bâtiment, and the block here, slip and going here. But when the fort explosions, the bâtiment here is nothing people.
No.
And the next room is for the wash the uniform.
Oh yes.
Because the is not here. Also here wash uniforms. It's not correct freedom.
But it's not wrong. This is the way it was supposed to look.
Just the back with the sound is close up the door, the windows. It's the real. Time of peace.
And then you put the shins in and the sand and then the more.
But if you are the war, you are the steel here, after the windows, the same, and here the sound.
And of course, there wouldn't be this outside. This is just the beginning of the explosion. These are actually the first forts I've seen where there is a jail.
Because the commandant is really respect for the men, and the men really respect for the commandant.
Yeah, so this is the ventilation. This is literally the air pipes.
In time of peace, no problem. It's a very good material. But in the war, no. Because all the gas for the bomb come in the bâtiment.
Plus you have everything you need to survive is on the other side of the moat. So if there's fighting, you can't come over here from the fighting part. That's a problem.
The Belgian army have many problems.
Well, the Danish did the same problem with the toilets on the outside of the moat, of the outside of the fighting department, and that is a problem.
Belgium, you are in suit.
But you could really ask yourself if this was not the beginning of the end of large fortresses. It wasn't, because 20 years later the Germans were working on the Atlantic Wall, the Maginot Line was being built. This was not the end of the fortress, but it most certainly was the end of the unreinforced fortress. At the opposing end was the 5.7 centimeter cannon, and here they set up sand traps to catch the projectiles and bullets so they wouldn't splinter the fort.
Yeah, you want sand to catch the ball. You don't want it to destroy. You don't want to destroy your own fort.
And considering the amount of shelling, I will say that the ditch walls are in remarkable shape.
Here,
Of course.
not here, huh? Not in the fort.
Oh.
In the bureau with the French.
Yeah. And light.
Light and gas.
Yeah.
The circle is for
The light.
the gas,
Oh, the gas. Oh, for the gas from the gun.
and here is for the light.
So after the explosion had demolished pretty much all of the fort, you have to imagine there's no trees, there's no stairs here, but 14 men are coming down here away from their inferno. They're coming down here to, theoretically, their friends. This door was not here, but there was an escape. They could have gotten through, but the Germans were up here on the top, shooting down at them. Now, instead of surrendering, when you are, as you know, if you're a soldier, you know, if you are taken down here from enemy of an elevated position, you have a problem. The Germans were up here shooting down at these 14 men that did not surrender but continued fighting until the last one had fallen. That was the dedication to their motto of not surrender. No wonder the Germans paid them respects to the survivors afterwards. This would have been what, 57 millimeter. So the 57?
5,000. The cannon?
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, yes, of course. So 57 millimeter.
For show for the children and for the visitors.
I like how you turned the whole position into a little mausoleum.
And here you have 69 soldiers. Only 18 soldiers with the name. For the Huguenot soldier, you are in the uniforms. You are the 14 is the infantry. You are the cannon is artillery. You are the guard, the chief, in the uniforms, and it's possible to give information to the soldier. For the soldier, really, know the information is military. But here you have the also the Wallen and North, the Flemish. Here you have half Flemish, half Wallen. Is dead. I have not information. Is Wallen? Is Flemish? I don't know. And the solution is in two militaires connus in France, onbekend militair in Flemish, Hucknall soldier. But here militaire is not information. Here is brigadier. Here soldier du génie, maréchal des logis is the grade.
It's amazing to think how many unknown soldiers who just went to war and disappeared. And no one knows who they are, and they fell somewhere, and here they are, and he may have family living today who has no idea that he's here. If ever there's a place where you can say history is being kept alive by an army of volunteers, this will be it. They're not getting any help. They're doing all this on their own. And they're taking great care to respect this place because it is memorial, it is a tomb to hundreds of soldiers who lost their lives in literally what was a split second of an explosion. I suppose it's comforting to say that most of them did not suffer. But these guys have shown them the proper respect.
Here you are the MP.
I see a lot of unknown soldiers again here.
Louis Noé, identifié par the ring.
Oh, these are the four that you found recently.
With the bone,
Yeah.
this man for the army, and the bone, huh? The ring. And now I say Louis Noé. December, here, is the estafette. Estafette is the windman with bicycle.
Yes,
and
dispatch rider.
And with the gun, number, okay, is December. And Halle here, the breaker is Flemish, is with the medal. 1 century after the war, here you have this soldier. This soldier going in the hospital, and when going in the hospital, what is your name? This man is on the middle dead. Le loup, okay, le double. But it's not the real name. 2 days after, he's dead. I see in the book, I have not the Leduc. It's a problem. And now, this grave in the Great Cemetery, Central Bush, here, you have the grave to the World War I and the grave to World War II. But this man is the World War I. And 1 century after, in the paper, I see the real name, Le Double. And the little, the great-great-father is, the great-great-son, excuse me, the great-great-son is here, 90 years. And so, where is your great-grandfather? Here in the fort, in the no, sir. I show you the grave. I'm going in the Central Bush. And now the army gave the news plaque with the real name and two medals. The medal of the war and the medal of the honor. And the fake plaque is here. Van Jordan had the lions, not the cross, because it's not no religious.
Okay.
No good for it's impossible to work with the cannon here in the first floor. You're going here, and with the material you left the cannon.
Yes.
Two men here give the cannon and direct here.
Yeah. Yeah, this would have been a cannon position.
When I have the visitor here, you have the music. Music very slow, very just for the respect to the soldier.
Well, you would think they would like a little bit of music.
This man is Flemish and don't speak very French. And Flemish here is not normal. And European, European killed this man in the campaign 3-4 kilometers here. And in the place when this man is killed, you have the plaque. Here is all the plaque. Now you are the news. This man.
There's a beautiful little museum to the fort with some amazing displays of weaponry and uniforms and a lot of photos from the day. And I must love the dog-drawn gun cart. The fort of Loncin belongs to the state, and ever since 1920 there has been a guard installed here, one that is always present. This, combined with the fact that it was never rearmed in the 1930s again, makes it look exactly like it did in 1914 and thus preserved. And in July 14th of every year, the city of Liège celebrates the heroic resistance of these forts and the men in them. Behind me is Vanna von Braun's first test stand. Down the road is Diebner's nuclear reactor. Over there is the Maginot Line and all its amazing forts. I'm visiting them all and I'm bringing them to you. So I really appreciate you like, follow and share what I'm doing, trying to document all these important historical locations. And if you feel like you want to watch more pictures or documents that I use for these, go to lostbattlefields.com. And if you feel like helping me out with my travels, because gasoline and travel and airfare is expensive, my PayPal is there, protectionserviceint.com. You are more than welcome, but you don't have to. I appreciate all your support and all your help, and I love seeing these locations, and I love bringing them to you.